Okay, my friends, today we're going to stay in the zone of the 80s mass monsters. We're going to cover a guy we call Big Bad John because he was big and he was bad. And won 2 world championship powerlifting championships. There he is at the World's Strongest Man in 82, where you can see he's got the mass, probably 300 pounds here, and obviously not ripped in this picture, but if you see him, which you will shortly, at 275, which is where he always competed in powerlifting, he was ripped at 275 and still with that size you just saw. How anybody loses like 15 pounds or more overnight, sweating it off is beyond me, because I've had to sweat off just a few pounds on the day of a meet, and it kind of messed up my lifting. Doesn't seem to affect this guy at all. And it's kind of a typical powerlifting thing of guys of that ilk, that size, and that power. But we're going to start with this story from Marty Gallagher, where he talking about having seen John in action, and there's an incident. There he is with his then boss at the University of Virginia, where that was Bill Dunn, who was another really good lifter, but mostly in bench pressing. He had his legs weren't up to par, certainly with the rest of his body. And it describes how Bill Dunn was at this meet and basically was trying to just had to get a squat in so he could set a world record or a national record bench press. There's John at 275, and you can see how ripped he is, which Marty describes in this article. Certainly could have been a contender, I think, with any of the Mr. Olympias of the time, had he chosen to go into bodybuilding, which he did not. But just a heck of a lifter. And his numbers in powerlifting, he started out small. He only really competed in powerlifting for about 4 years. But in that short time, he went from doing, smaller meets and then up through areas doing shrugs, and you can just see how massive he is. He's just a huge dude, and certainly the power to go with it. Unfortunately, I could not find a training routine for John, but you can be assured there he is at the World's Strongest Man doing the battery hold, which he did pretty well in. That was one of his better events. He did go up against the Kaz, who was a much more seasoned World's Strongest Man competitor, and even a little probably bigger than John, as hard as that is to believe. He beat him in the sumo wrestling event, but John did it well, obviously in the deadlift, which is kind of his forte, and in some other events. He was in the bar bend and some other things. But he placed 3rd and 5th. There he is, the World's Strongest Man, smiling after doing well in one of the events. But he, as I said, not even with the World's Strongest Man thing being his forte, coming in 3rd and 5th, in those early 80s was, pretty notable, to say the least. At the peak of his powerlifting career, he was, at his size, he was pretty much unbeatable. There he is again, and you could see that same physique on the Powerlifting USA in the 82 cover. And you could see the veins and the striations, and that was just him, training down from 290 or 300 to 275. So I think he could have beaten anybody in the Mr. Olympia category, even in those days. Just chose not to do that, and that's not something he was into. He was into the strength sports, and obviously did very well at them. Then, kind of at the same time, really, here he is going up against Kaz in the sumo event, which Kaz did get the better of him there. But again, this wasn't even his forte. So just the fact that he goes up against Kaz, and if you see Kaz in that video, he just looks like he's psyched to the gills, and certainly a formidable opponent. Talking about there that years later, Kirk Kowalski finally beat John's total, and it wasn't by a whole lot. That total, that 2207 total, held up for a long time. This is just talking about Marty, who wrote that article. Quite a athlete himself and coach. He's written for a whole bunch of different magazines, and he has books out and stuff. There's John deadlifting, which again was probably one of his strongest man events, because not much different than a regular deadlift, except that you can use straps and you can hitch and stuff like that. So it's a little easier, but pretty crazy weight there. So this is talking about his induction into the York Hall of Fame. So he's in the York Hall of Fame for his strength, and there's pictures of him there. Here he is deadlifting at the 83 Worlds. Here it talks about in 84, he became the head coach at the University of Virginia, and his records there, and he was remained there for quite a while, and then ultimately he became the strength coach at the Miami Dolphins, and then it says later on he worked also with the Buffalo Bills. But just obviously a man dedicated to excellence in everything that he did. Here's his coaching career in a nutshell. Coached under Don Shula, the Miami Dolphins, and then co-strength and conditioning coordinator with the Buffalo Bills. There he is bench pressing, and this is 560, I think, something like that. But he was a full 3-lift lifter. He was no one lift specialist. He just had all-around strength and size. There he is with his championship trophy from the 83 Worlds. Obviously very happy. And of course, in order to get to the Worlds, you have to win the Senior Nationals. And unfortunately, I didn't put the numbers here, but he beat Mark Chalet, who was a considerable athlete himself, by quite a few pounds. There he is on the winner's podium at the Nationals. So again, here it's just saying how he reigned supreme in the 275s, which is kind of an understatement. The rest of this stuff really doesn't apply because it's relating to pictures that were from this article. There he is in later years, obviously a much trimmed down John, and he had the good sense to trim down like that, and he's still around. He's around 80 and still around to this day. I don't know what he's doing. I didn't look to see if he had a Facebook page or anything, but you can see the numbers there. Even in 82, which was his first Worlds, he beat the competition by quite a bit. There he is again, just showing how massive he was here at around 300 pounds. And you can just see he's got the pecs, he's got the delts, the big giant arms, the traps, and he looks intense there. So he was certainly capable of getting in his zone when he needed to. And as I mentioned, he did place well in addition to his powerlifting stuff. There he's the world's strongest man. He placed 3rd and 5th at a couple different 80s World's Strongest Man events. Again, even though that was certainly not his forte. So, and he's in the Hall of Fame for strength coaches. I think actually a couple different Hall of Fames for strength coaches. So an interesting guy, and we're going to cut it off there. Thanks for watching. Hit those like buttons, please, if you do enjoy the video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, really appreciate it if you did. Thanks, and I'm out.